1975 was the year America needed a break. Nixon had recently resigned following the Watergate scandal, Vietnam had just ended, and trust in institutions was at rock bottom. If all that wasn't all bad enough, disco music was rising in popularity. It really was just a challenging time to be alive. On the pop culture front, an experimental show called Saturday Night Live was launched. And then the first personal computer kits, the Altair 8800, also launched, sparking the nerd revolution. And the #1 song that year was Love Will Keep Us Together by Captain and Sneal. Was pretty different from what we're familiar with today. In the 1960s and 1970s, movie executives had the belief that summer was the time of year people wanted to be outdoors, and therefore, one of the worst times of the year to drop a big blockbuster. There were a lot of family movies like The Parent Trap or The Apple Dumpling Gang. There were light comedies and teen beach movies that could be made for cheap. And there were musicals like Mary Poppins, and then there were some indie films from up-and-coming directors like American Graffiti, which was directed by a totally unknown director at the time named George Lucas, and it starred a totally unknown actor at the time named Harrison Ford. Summer movies were mostly light, family-friendly, or niche. They were fun diversions, not cultural events. Jaws changed everything. Released on June 20th of 1975, it was a huge cultural phenomenon and the first film to make over $100 million in its first theatrical release, on a budget, by the way, of just $9 million. Jaws completely inverted expectations by proving that summer could be the season of the must-see, big-budget thrill ride, and it put its director, Steven Spielberg, on the map. He was only 27 years old at the time. Jaws is a deceptively deep film. Yes, there are shark attacks. And yes, this movie made lots of us think twice about ever going into the ocean again. In fact, as a kid when I saw it, I thought twice about even going into the bathroom again. It's not logical, it's just real. And it's not just a summer monster movie. Underneath the surface, Jaws is about fear and denial, and courage, and community. And it's also about leadership. Its message is not simply that fear is bad, or that we should all be brave in the face of our monsters. The power of Jaws is that it dramatizes what happens when fear is ignored, when truth is denied, when leadership requires sacrifice. Today's showing of Jaws is for all of us who need to name our fears, who need to stop pretending the sharks circling us aren't real. It's for anyone who's been tempted to minimize a problem because facing it feels too costly. It's for those who feel the pull of denial but long for the strength of courage. And it's for anyone who needs the reminder that faith doesn't erase fear. It empowers us to stand firm, to fight for others, and to step into the kind of leadership that costs us something but saves lives. Our movie begins where all great stories begin, with college students drinking on an island beach. Two of them begin flirting with each other and they decide to go for a dip in the ocean. Chrissy leads Tom away from their friends and dives in, but Tom is so intoxicated, he can't complete the very complicated task of removing his shoes. And on this particular evening, that ends up being a very good thing for him because Chrissy ends up being the very first victim of the film. Tom is passed out, he does not see what happens to Chrissy, but she never resurfaces, so he reports her missing the next day. We're introduced to Police Chief Martin Brody, a former New York police officer who took the job on the island of Amity for a slower, safer pace for his family. Brody discovers Chrissy's mangled body washed up on shore, and the medical examiner identifies her wounds as a shark attack. But when the mayor, Larry Vaughn, discovers Brody plans on closing the island's beaches out of caution, he fears that doing so on the upcoming 4th of July weekend will wreck the island town's tourist industry, and he demands that the beaches remain open.
You yelled shark. We've got a panic on our hands on the 4th of July.
This leads us to our first scene of the day. Dozens of Amity citizens enjoying a beautiful day at the beach before the throngs of tourists arrive for the 4th of July. And Police Chief Brody nervously looking on as he's one of the only ones with knowledge of the potential danger lurking just beneath the surface of the water.
Get my raft and go back out in the water.
Let me see your fingers.
Alex Kintner, they're beginning to prune.
Just let me go out a little longer.
Just 10 more minutes.
Thanks.
All I want to know, I just want to know one simple thing. When do I get to become an islander?
Ellen, never. You're not born here, you're not an island. That's it.
Come right back.
Hey, Marty, I know you got a lot of problems downtown, but I've got a couple of problems at the house I wish you could take care of.
One, I've got some cats parking in front of the house I can't get down to the office, and that garbage truck next to the office.
So Lindsay, there's a red zone. It's a simple thing you can take care of.
Honey, would you come here a minute, please?
Are you okay?
It's fine. Yeah, it's fine. It's fine.
Listen, if the kids go to work and it's raining,
No.
and they can play out here on the beach.
All right, let them know.
Gee, Brody, you are uptight. Yes. Come on. That's it.
What we just saw is one of the most unforgettable moments in the whole film. Chief Brody is straining to see what no one else wants to admit might be there. Parents are chatting, kids are splashing, the beach feels safe. Everyone wants to believe the ocean is fine. But then, in an instant, the shark strikes. A boy is gone, and panic erupts. So that's the power of this scene. It shows us that danger doesn't go away just because we close our eyes to it. Denial doesn't protect us. Minimizing the problem doesn't make it smaller. Ignoring fear doesn't erase it. It only gives it room to grow. Jesus once said in Luke 8:17, "For all that is secret will eventually be brought into the open, and everything that is concealed will be brought to light and made known to all." He said this right after telling a story about light and darkness, about how a lamp is meant to shine, not to be hidden. His point was simple. What we try to keep buried in the shadows eventually comes out. As one psychologist I heard said one time, you never actually get away with anything. Even if other people don't discover it, you end up living with it. And that's true of the fears we won't name. It's true of the anxieties we push down or the struggles we don't want to admit are circling beneath the surface. Pretending they're not there doesn't make them disappear. It only makes their eventual eruption more devastating. The invitation of Jesus is not to hide, not to deny, not to bury our fear, but to bring it into the light where God can deal with it. Because fear loses its power when it's faced in the presence of truth.
Martin, would you please? Chief, okay.
I just want to tell you what we're planning so far.
What about the beaches, Chief?
We're going to put on the extra summer deputies as soon as possible. And then we're going to try and use shark spotters on the beach.
Are you going to close the beaches?
Yes, we are.
We're also planning to bring in some experts from the Oceanographic Institute on the mainland.
Only 24 hours.
I didn't agree to that.
Only 24 hours.
You all know me, know how I earn a living. I'll catch this bird for you, but it ain't gonna be easy. Bad fish. Not like going down the pond chasing bluegills or tommycocks. This shark, swallow you whole. Shaking, tenderizing, down you go. And we gotta do it quick. That'll bring back the tourists. That'll put all your businesses on a paying basis. But it's not gonna be pleasant. I value my neck a lot more than $3,000, Chief. I'll find him for 3, but I'll catch him and kill him for 10. You gotta make up your minds. Gonna stay alive and ante up? You wanna play it cheap? Be on welfare the whole winter. I don't want no volunteers. I don't want no mates. There's too many captains on this island. $10,000 for me by myself. For that you get the head, the tail, the whole damn thing.
Thank you very much, Mr. Quint. We'll take it under advisement.
Mr. Mayor, Chief, ladies and gentlemen.
What we just watched is a perfect picture of denial. By this point, 2 people have already been killed. Now, Quint offers to hunt the shark, but only if he's paid enough to risk his life. And what does the mayor do? He refuses. Not only does he turn down the mysterious fisherman Quint, he insists that the beaches can't stay closed for more than 24 hours. Why? Because the 4th of July weekend is coming and the town's economy depends on it. This is one of the core tensions of Jaws. The mayor is so focused on business and tourism and appearances that he can't face the truth. He would rather gamble with people's lives than admit how dangerous things really are. And that's not just his story, it's ours too. Because denial is always easier than courage when there's something to lose. The Bible speaks into this in John 12:43. For they loved human praise more than the praise of God. If Jesus is talking about religious leaders who refused to believe in him openly. They knew the truth, but they kept it hidden because they didn't want to lose their standing, their reputation, or their power. Denial often looks like wisdom, like being practical or cautious or careful. But in reality, it's fear. And when we let fear dictate our choices, we end up protecting appearances instead of people, reputation instead of truth. Real courage is costly, but so is denial. And the longer we choose denial, the more it costs.
Amity Island has long been known for its clean air, clear water, and beautiful white sand beaches. But in recent days, a cloud has appeared on the horizon of this beautiful resort community. A cloud in the shape of a killer shark.
do me a favor, will you? You and the other guys take the boat and put it in the pond instead.
Pond's for all the ladies.
I know it's for the old ladies, but just do it for the old man, huh? Please?
All right.
Thanks.
I'm pleased and happy to repeat the news that we have in fact caught and killed a large predator that supposedly injured some bathers. But as you see, it's a beautiful day, the beaches are open, and people are having a wonderful time. Amity, as you know, means friendship.
Jesus Christ, spam shark 350! Red one, red one. No whistles, no whistles!
You made me do it. You told me to do it.
Please, please, move back. Let's move back. I need to give these people some air. Please, move back. Move back.
Martin, it's just a hoax. There are two kids with a cardboard fin. Is everyone there okay? Did everyone get out of the water all right?
Shark! The shark! Guys, the pond!
Hey, fellas! Fellas! Hold of the sheet! Make it fast! Hey, you guys. You guys okay over there?
The scene we just watched captures fear at full volume. First, there are false alarms, people panicking as shadows in the water. Then, in the estuary, the real attack happens. A man is killed, Brody's son is nearly lost. Suddenly, no one can deny that what's been circling beneath the surface is actually full-on dangerous. So that's how fear works. It doesn't always strike when we expect it. Sometimes we panic over nothing. Other times, it blindsides us when we least see it coming. And the truth is, we can't control when fear confronts us, but we can control how we respond when it does. The Bible speaks to this in John 16:33, where Jesus says, "Here on earth, you will have many trials and sorrows, but take heart, because I have overcome the world. Notice he doesn't say if you have trials, he says you will. The question isn't whether we'll encounter fear, pain, or loss. The question is what we'll do in that moment. The people on the beach ran in panic. Brody almost froze in shock before finally throwing himself into gear. His son was nearly swallowed up. And isn't that how fear often plays out in our lives? It arrives suddenly, it demands a reaction, and it tempts us to either collapse or run. But Jesus offers us another way, not to deny fear, not to let it paralyze us, but to face it with courage, rooted in Him. Because while we can't control when fear confronts us, we can choose to trust the one who has already overcome. Now, by this point, the evidence is basically undeniable. The attacks have continued, and the ocean is no longer safe. After examining the remains of one of the victims, the young oceanographer, Matt Hooper, identifies the predator as no ordinary shark. This is a great white, a massive and notoriously dangerous hunter. Hooper brings expertise, science, and a sense of urgency to the table, but his warnings end up being brushed aside until the terror can no longer be ignored. At last, the mayor relents. The moment he signs the order to hire Quint is a turning point in the story. Quint's been lingering on the edges of the narrative until now, the grizzled fisherman whose voice drips with both bravado and hard-earned scars. He's named his price, $10,000 to hunt the beast, and finally, the town agrees. But Quint won't go alone. So Chief Brody, the lawman who never wanted to set foot in the water, knows he can't stay behind. And Hooper, with his knowledge of sharks and his drive to prove the scale of the threat, insists on joining the expedition as well. With the hiring of Quint and the unlikely trio of Quint, Hooper, and Brody preparing to set sail, the movie pivots into its final act. The days of denial and debate are over. The hunt has begun, and the stage is set for one of the most iconic showdowns in movie history. Now, I got to see this movie in an actual movie theater for the first time a few years ago, and there's an incredibly famous line that's about to come up. You're gonna need a bigger boat. One of the things that made the theater experience so fun is that right after he said that line, the whole theater spontaneously erupted in cheers and applause. Just to be clear, the thing that made it really fun was that right after he said, you're gonna need a bigger boat, everyone erupted in cheers and applause. Everyone did that. So let's cut to our next scene.
Stop playing with yourself, Hooper. Slow ahead, Indian face. You heard him, slow ahead.
Slow ahead. I can go slow ahead. Come on down and chump some of this.
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
Well, first of all, I am so proud of you, or disappointed in you. We're actually filming this weeks before you'll see it, so I'm not sure which one it will be, but it will definitely be either pride or disappointment as to whether or not you cheered and applauded that you're gonna need a bigger boat. That line, you're gonna need a bigger boat, isn't just one of the most famous in movie history. It captures the shock of this moment. Up until now, the shark has been mostly unseen. It's been talked about, it's been hinted at, it's been felt in the chaos it creates, but now, face to face with it, Brody realizes the reality is far bigger and far more terrorizing than he had imagined. And isn't that how fear often works in our lives? As long as it's distant, we can downplay it. We tell ourselves, it's not so bad. Or that we can handle it if it ever really shows up. But when it finally surfaces, when we see the full size of what we're up against, whether that's a diagnosis, a fractured relationship, or a mountain we never thought we'd have to climb, we suddenly realize the boat we've been relying on feels way too small. But here's the truth. Courage doesn't shrink the challenge. Courage grows when we're honest about the size of it. The Apostle Paul wrote in 2 Corinthians 12:9, "My grace is all you need. My power works best in weakness." Real courage begins when we admit, this is too big for me. Because that's when we discover that God is big enough. The shark doesn't get smaller, and the boat doesn't magically expand. But when we name the size of what we're facing, we open ourselves up to a strength that isn't our own. That's where courage is born.
Chief, don't you worry about it, Chief. It won't be permanent. Want to see something permanent? Boom. Hey, ho. You want to feel something permanent? Just put your hand underneath my cap. Just a little lump. Knock-a-Nolan, St. Patty's Day, Boston.
I got that beat.
You got that beat.
Some moray eel. Bit right through my wetsuit.
Well, nope, no, listen, I don't know about that, but I entered an arm wrestling contest in an Okie bar in San Francisco. You see this? Now I can't extend that. You know why? Got to the semifinal, celebrating my third wife's demise. Big Chinese fella pulled me right over.
It's a bull shark. It scraped me when I was taking samples.
I got something. That's the thresher. You see that? Chief, thresher's tail.
Thresher? It's a shark.
You gonna drink? Drink to your leg?
I'll drink to your leg.
Okay, so we drink our leg.
I got the creme de la creme. Right here. Hold on. Hey, see that?
You're wearing a sweater.
Right there. Mary Ellen Moffat. She broke my heart.
What's that one? What?
That one there, on your arm.
Oh, it's a tattoo. I got that removed.
Don't tell me. Don't tell me. Mother. What is it?
So, but that's the USS Indianapolis.
You were on the Indianapolis?
What happened? Japanese submarine slammed 2 torpedoes into our side, Chief. It was coming back from the island of Tinian to Lady, just delivered the bomb, the Hiroshima bomb. 1,100 men went into the water. Vessel went down in 12 minutes. Didn't see the first shark for about half an hour. Tiger, 13-footer, you know that when you're in the water, Chief? You tell by looking from the dorsal to the tail. What we didn't know was our bomb mission had been so secret, no distress signal had been sent. They didn't even list us overdue for a week. Very first light, Chief. Sharks come cruising. So we formed ourselves into tight groups. It's kind of like old squares in a battle, like you see in a calendar, like the Battle of Waterloo. And the idea was, shark comes the nearest man, that man he starts pounding and hollering and screaming. Sometimes the shark would go away. Sometimes he wouldn't go away. Sometimes that shark, he looks right into you. right into your eyes. You know the thing about a shark, he's got lifeless eyes, black eyes, like a doll's eye. When he comes at you, he doesn't seem to be living until he bites you, and those black eyes roll over white, and then you hear that terrible high-pitched screaming. The ocean turns red, and despite all the pounding and the hollering, they all come in and they rip you to pieces. You know, by the end of that first dawn, lost 100 men. I don't know how many sharks, maybe 1,000. I don't know how many men, they average 6 an hour. On Thursday morning, Chief, I bumped into a friend of mine, Herbie Robinson from Cleveland. Baseball player, bosun's mate. I thought he was asleep. Reached over to wake him up. Bobbed up and down in the water. It was like a kind of top. Upended. Well, he'd been bitten in half below the waist. Noon the 5th day, Mr. Hooper, Lockheed Ventura saw us. He swung in low and he saw us too. A young pilot, a lot younger than Mr. Hooper anyway. He saw us and he come in low, and 3 hours later, a big fat PBY comes down and started to pick us up. You know, that was the time I was most frightened, waiting for my turn. I'll never put on a life jacket again. So 1,100 men went in the water. 360 men come out. The Sharks took the rest. June the 29th, 1945. Anyway, we delivered the bomb.
That story that Quint tells is haunting. He survived one of the darkest naval tragedies in World War II, the sinking of the USS Indianapolis. Hundreds of men stranded in the water, waiting to be rescued, while sharks circled and picked them off one by one. That kind of experience leaves a mark. And isn't that true for all of us? That fear marks us. Trauma, loss, betrayal, failure, they leave scars. Some of you carry stories you don't tell that often, but they have shaped the way you see the world. They shape the way you see yourself. For Quint, it shaped him into a man obsessed with sharks and driven by vengeance, haunted by memories he couldn't escape. But here's the thing, fear may mark you, but it doesn't have to master you. Listen to what the Apostle Paul writes in Romans chapter 8, verses 35 through 39. He says this, "Can anything ever separate us from Christ's love? Does it mean he no longer loves us if we have trouble or calamity, or are persecuted, or hungry, or destitute, or in danger, or threatened with death? No, despite all these things, overwhelming victory is ours through Christ who loved us. And I'm convinced that nothing can ever separate us from God's love. Neither our fears for today, nor our worries about tomorrow, not even the powers of hell can separate us from God's love." Paul doesn't sugarcoat it. He names the calamities and the dangers and the threats. Like he knows that life will leave marks on us, but he also knows that nothing, not fear, not trauma, not even death itself, has the power to sever us from the love of God. And it's that love that keeps fear from becoming our master. So what do we do when fear has marked us? Well, first of all, we name it. We stop pretending it didn't happen. Second, we refuse to let it define us. You are not the sum of your scars. And third, we invite God to write a new story with them. The very place where fear has left its mark can become the places where God's love shines brightest. Quint's story is tragic because he never finds freedom from his fear. It consumes him, it drives him. Ultimately, it costs him everything. But your story doesn't have to end that way. You may carry scars, but you do not have to carry chains. Fear marks us, but through Christ, love defines us. And love always has the final word. By the time we reach the climax, everything has unraveled. Quint, driven by his obsession, has pushed the boat past its limit until the orca is sinking. In the chaos of the shark's final attack, Quint is dragged under and killed. who had gone into the water in a diving cage to try and inject the shark with poison survives only by hiding on the ocean floor until the beast swims away. That leaves Chief Brody, who never wanted to be on the water in the first place, alone on a sinking boat, face to face with the monster. The man who feared the ocean is now the only one left to end the fight. Brody's showdown with the shark is Brody's showdown with the shark is unforgettable. Not because he's the most skilled, but because he's the bravest. Because when everyone else was gone, he refused to give up. The man who feared the water ends up face to face with the monster, alone, exhausted, on a sinking boat. And somehow, that's the moment he finds the courage to act. He stares into the jaws of death itself and chooses not to run, but to fight. That's the paradox of courage. It doesn't show up when we feel strong. It shows up when we admit we're weak. It doesn't come when we have every resource at our disposal. It comes when the boat is sinking, when the help is gone, when all that's left is to decide whether to surrender to fear or take our shot. And that's the challenge before you. About a year ago, a woman came to me and she was really struggling in her life. Her husband had just left her, her kids were distraught by all of the upheaval in their family, and her own parents weren't sure how much they could even help financially or with support because they were going through a lot of health concerns of their own. She said to me, "Josh, I just don't think I have the strength to face this." And because I am such a good pastor, I looked at her and I said, "You don't." Because the truth is, in that moment, she didn't. The fact is, when we walk into these incredibly difficult battles, we are not the people we ultimately will have to become in order to face them. It is in walking through these challenges with the Spirit of God on our side that we become the kind of person who can stand to face those storms. What sharks have been circling your life? What fears have you been running from? What truths have you been denying? What monsters have you let master you? Because you cannot conquer what you will not confront. And here's the good news. You're not facing this alone. Brody had a rifle and a sinking boat, but you have the presence of the living God. You have the love that cannot be severed, the grace that cannot be outmatched, the Spirit who breathes courage into your bones. So name your fear, face your monster, step into the water. You may feel like you're in over your head, but that is where courage is born and where faith becomes real. Don't wait for a bigger boat. Step out in the strength God has already placed within you. Because fear may circle you, but it does not have the final word.
Thanks for playing along. I really appreciate it. Hey, our prayer for you this week is that whatever fears you've got, whatever tension and anxiety in your life you've got, that you will be prayerful, that Jesus will join you in them, the Spirit of God will join you in them, and we would love to be a helpful partner in that. In just a moment, I'm going to dismiss you. Out in the lobby, we have a chum punch. You should definitely try it. It's way more delicious than it sounds, I promise. Next week, we're doing Hook. Parents, you'll be happy to know there is not a single severed leg in Hook, okay? You can bring the kids in with no problem whatsoever, and we'll be talking about what it looks like to grow up and to integrate some of what we learned as kids, but to become wonderful adults who serve the Lord. Have a great rest of your Sunday. We will see you next week.